Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time for another MicroMaster comparison. We're taking a look at the Battle Patrol. Specifically, we have the members Big Shot, or as he's been renamed, Top Shot, and Flak. Of course, like any of the other MicroMasters that have been released in this wave, save for the Soundwave Spy team, these guys can form individual vehicles and also be combined to form a super weapon. At any rate, let's do a quick comparison of them. We'll start, of course, with Big Shot and Top Shot. Of course, in the G1 continuity, Big Shot here was the leader of the Battle Patrol. All in all, rather tough looking toy. Or at least in robot mode he looks rather tough. Articulation wise, he could raise his arm up about so far and bring it down about so far. He could bend at the hips, a little over 90 degrees, and of course he could bend at his knees. So, not a whole lot. Of course, Top Shot, of course renamed for trademark reasons. He can move in an entirely different way. His arms are on a ball joint, so he can move his arms inward and outward like so. And, of course, rotate the arms all the way around. There's a ball joint at his hip, so he can swing his legs out about so far. He also has a joint at his hip, by the way, so it does allow him to turn at the hips. And he can raise his leg at the hip about 90 degrees, and also bend his knee about 90 degrees. So he's got a lot going and is a considerable improvement over his G1 counterpart. He just doesn't stand up as good. There we go. Now let's flip them into their alternate modes and we'll take a look at it. See how they look. Now, of course, in their alternate modes, they've gained some changes, but they do retain the original essence, as they both have a rotating turret. Of course, Big Shots here can only rotate so far, and then it runs up against some raised plastic on the toy. But he can also rotate the gun 180 degrees. He's a 6-wheeled vehicle, but only 4 of them are real, as the middle set here is made to be his shoulder joint. But he rolls fairly decent for a MicroMaster. This new one, however, does make some improvements, but he's also a pain to transform because of these long bits of plastic here. The instructions don't say it, but I think it would be better if you rotated the turret all the way around to make it easier to insert them. But this one improves upon it. As you saw, I've turned the turret all the way around. The cannon also can only raise straight up or go straight forward, so it's a little more realistic. And again, he's on 6 wheels, 6-wheeled vehicle, but the middle wheel is fake, as it's also his shoulders. And how does he roll in this mode? Rolls a little bit better. Surprisingly enough, he does roll a little bit better than the original. So all in all, that's a nice improvement. Some good, some bad. Now, let's take a look at Flak. Now, of course, here's Flak. And we can automatically tell there's been a color scheme difference. As instead of using tan plastic for his chest, the new one uses gray, so that's a bit of an improvement appearance-wise. Articulation-wise, the original, again, primarily had it in his arms. Raise the arms up and down all the way. You could bend his legs at the hips, about 90 degrees, and he could bend at the knees, about 90 degrees. So he doesn't have a lot, he can't move around a lot, but at least you get something. New one, however, takes what came before and somewhat improves upon it. So you can move his arms out, about so far, and he can rotate his arm. It does rotate all the way, but of course you have to stick it out to clear his back. His legs are independent, unlike the originals, so you can do a full split. He can also raise his legs up about 90 degrees, and he can bend at the knees about 90 degrees. So, and of course, since his legs are on ball joints, they can pop off very easily, as you just witnessed. Thankfully, they just snap right back into place. Good job designing Takara and Hasbro. Now, let's see about converting them into their alternate modes and take a look at that. Now, in their alternate modes, they both still become missile carriers. But the old one tends to be a bit longer than the newer one. Missile carrier, of course, there isn't much they can do. They just fire their missiles whatever direction they're pointing at. This one, of course, has some molded on details, like especially entry hatch. And he rolls on some fake wheels. He's got wheels here down at the end of his arms and just above the head. How does the old one roll? Pretty good. The newer one, as I said, he's just a shade more compact. And we'll put the other one underneath, and you can see just a bit long. The old one is longer, but the newer one appears to have a slightly bigger missile box. Take that as you may. But of course, as he's on Cybertron, he can carry bigger missiles. And down here underneath, he has 4 wheels. So how well does he chug along? Not too bad. Almost on par with what the original one can do. Now, of course, as we had stated earlier, these guys can be combined to form a weapon. So let's merge them together and see what their weapon mode looks like. And with Sideswipe holding them, this is their combined weapon mode, an Electroverge Neuroblaster, according to the instructions. So this is the gun mode for Top Shot and Flak, and yeah, it's alright. It's a lot smoother looking than some of the others that have been done. You know, I'm not a real fan of the fact that their robot mode, that their robot kibble is easily exposed on the top of the gun, but, you know, I'll show you here. But all in all, it isn't too bad. It at least looks like a decent cannon of sorts. So, my only real complaint with it is that it is a bit top heavy, so you will have to be careful with how your transformer holds it. So I had to put Sideswipe through a fair amount of positions to get him to stay standing. So it's a little top heavy, but otherwise it isn't too terribly bad. I've seen more ridiculous ones, but this one's rather tame by comparison. At any rate, that concludes my comparison review of the Battle Patrol. If you liked the video, please leave me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. And share your thoughts about the Battle Patrol in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.